The year was 1883. Sheriff Marcus Sullivan had seen enough blood to last 10 lifetimes, but nothing prepared him for what he found in that alley behind Murphy's saloon. She lay crumpled against the wooden crates, her deerskin dress torn, dark hair matted with blood. Apache. He could tell by the silver jewelry still clinging to her wrists, by the ritual scars carved into her shoulders. Someone had beaten her within an inch of her life and left her to die. Mac knelt beside her, his weathered hands trembling as he checked for a pulse. Still alive, barely. Her bronze skin was mottled with bruises, her breathing shallow. In the lamplight spilling from the saloon's back door, he could see she was beautiful, dangerously so. He should have walked away, should have let nature take its course. In New Mexico territory, Apache blood was worth less than a broken bottle. But as she stirred, her dark eyes fluttering open to meet his, something inside him cracked. "Help me," she whispered in perfect English. Mac Sullivan had spent 20 years following orders, enforcing laws, doing what was expected. Now, for the first time, he was about to break every rule that mattered. Before we dive into this dangerous choice that would change everything, let us know in the comments where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit that like button. Mac glanced around the alley. Empty. The sounds of piano music and drunken laughter drifted from the saloon, masking any noise. He slipped his arms under the woman, lifting her carefully. She was lighter than she should have been, all sharp bones and taut muscle. "Don't," she whispered, trying to push away from him. "Let me die." "Not happening," Mac muttered, carrying her toward his horse. The ride to his cabin took 20 minutes through the desert scrub. Mac's homestead sat isolated 3 miles from town, exactly how he preferred it. He'd built it after Mary died, when the memories in their old house became too much to bear. Out here, with just the wind and the coyotes, he could drink his laudanum in peace and forget. Inside, he laid her on his bed, the only bed in the single-room cabin. She was unconscious again, her breathing ragged. Mac lit the oil lamp and took a proper look. The beating had been methodical, professional. Ribs, probably cracked. Face swollen, but not permanently damaged. Someone wanted her hurt, not dead, at least not quickly. He heated water and began cleaning the wounds. Her eyes snapped open when the wet cloth touched a gash on her forehead. "Stay still," he said quietly. She stared at him with the intensity of a trapped wildcat. "Why?" Mac paused, the cloth dripping in his hands. "Why indeed?" "Don't rightly know." As he worked, she studied his face. Mac was 42, weathered by sun and sorrow, with gray threading through his dark hair. His hands, she noticed, were gentle despite their size, careful, not the hands of a man who hurt women. "You are the sheriff," she said, eyeing the badge on his shirt. "That's right. Then you should arrest me." Mac met her gaze. "For what?" "For being Apache in your town." The bitter truth of it hung between them. Mac had enforced those unwritten laws for years, had looked the other way when justice was administered in alleys and back rooms. Had told himself it was just the way things were. "What's your name?" he asked instead. She hesitated. "Ayanna." "I'm Mac." He continued cleaning her wounds. "Who did this to you?" Her jaw tightened. "Men who thought they owned me." "Do they?" "No man owns me." The words carried steel despite her weakness. Mac believed her. There was pride in her voice, in the set of her shoulders even while lying broken on his bed. Pride that someone had tried to beat out of her, and failed. He was wrapping a bandage around her ribs when she grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "I know you," she said, her voice changing. Mac froze. In the lamplight, recognition dawned in her dark eyes. Recognition, and something much more dangerous. "Apache Pass," she whispered. "2 summers ago. You were there." The memory hit Mac like a physical blow. The cavalry charge, the desperate fighting, the Apache warrior who'd fought like a demon until Mac's bullet found his heart. "You killed my husband." The silence stretched taut as a bowstring. Mac didn't deny it. Couldn't. "Tall man," Mac said finally. "War paint. Fought to the end. Nalnish." Her voice broke on the name. "He was war chief of our band." Mac set down the bandages. "I remember him. Took 3 men to bring him down." "You remember?" Ayanna's eyes blazed. "Do you remember the women and children you left without protection? Do you remember how we starved that winter?" The accusation hit home. Mac had thought about it, had lost sleep over it. The laudanum couldn't wash away everything. "I remember," he said quietly. Ayanna struggled to sit up, ignoring the pain. "Then why save me? Why not let me die and be done with it?" Mac looked at her. Really looked. Even beaten and bruised, she was magnificent. Defiant. Unbroken. Everything his dead wife had been before the sickness took her. "Because I'm tired of death following me." The words surprised them both. Over the following days, an uneasy truce developed. Ayanna's wounds healed slowly, and Mac found himself returning from his sheriff duties to check on her. She never thanked him, but she stopped trying to kill him with the kitchen knife when he wasn't looking. He learned she'd been captured in a raid, sold to pay gambling debts owed by Apache men desperate for whiskey. She'd spent months in a brothel in Santa Fe before being traded again, ending up in Silver Creek. The beating had come when she'd refused a customer's particular demands. "You could have submitted," Mac said one evening as he changed her bandages. "Survived." "Survival without honor is not survival," she replied. "It is slow death." Mac understood that. He'd been dying slowly for 3 years. As her strength returned, so did her beauty. Mac found himself watching her move around the cabin, the way the firelight caught her skin, the graceful way she braided her long hair. When she bathed in the basin, he forced himself to look away, but the image burned in his mind. She caught him watching one evening. Instead of covering herself, she held his gaze, proud and challenging. The air between them crackled with tension. "You want me," she said. It wasn't a question. Mac's throat went dry. "Ayanna, the man who killed my husband, wants me." Her voice was soft, dangerous. "How does that feel, Sheriff?" Before he could answer, boots on the porch. Mac grabbed his gun, motioning Ayanna toward the back room. "Mac? You in there?" Deputy Clayton's voice. Mac opened the door, blocking the view inside. "Evening, Clayton." Clayton pushed past him, scanning the cabin. His eyes fell on the extra plate on the table, the woman's hair ribbon forgotten on a chair. "Been having company, Mac?" "That's my business." Clayton smiled coldly. "Actually, it's territorial business." "There's been talk about you harboring an Apache woman, about you going soft." The deputy moved closer to the back room. Mac stepped between them. "You'd better leave, Clayton." "Or what? You'll shoot your own deputy?" Clayton laughed. "Face it, Mac. Your time's over. Territory wants a younger man, someone who understands how to handle the Indian problem properly." After Clayton left, Mac found Ayanna standing by the window, her face pale. "He knows," she said. "Doesn't matter. It matters to me." She turned to face him. "Tomorrow, they will come for me." "Tonight." She paused, something shifting in her expression. "Tonight, I choose what happens to me." That night, Mac lay awake on the floor while Ayanna occupied the bed. He listened to her breathing, knowing Clayton would return with backup in the morning, knowing his career was over. His life, probably. The rustle of fabric made him turn. Ayanna stood beside his bedroll, her hair loose around her shoulders, wearing only a thin cotton shift. Mac. He sat up. You should rest. I have rested. She knelt beside him. For 3 years since Nelnish died, I have felt nothing but anger, hatred, fear. Her hand touched his chest. But with you, I feel something else. Ayanna, don't... You killed my husband. Her voice was steady. Sure, but you saved my life. You showed me kindness when no one else would. Her fingers traced the scars on his chest, old wounds from his cavalry days. We are both walking dead, Max Sullivan. But tonight, we could be alive. When she kissed him, it was fierce, desperate, like drowning people grasping for air. Mac's control shattered, his hands tangled in her hair as he pulled her against him, months of suppressed desire pouring out. Are you sure? He whispered against her lips. I am sure of nothing, she replied. But I choose this. I choose you. Their lovemaking erupted with the raw, reckless fervor of those staring down their final hours. It began with a slow, deliberate dance, each touch a tentative exploration, as if testing the fragile boundary between life and death. Their breaths mingled in soft, ragged gasps, the air thick with the scent of sweat and unspoken longing. Ayanna's fingers dug into Mac's shoulders, her nails carving crescent moons into his skin as she pressed herself closer, her body a taut bowstring vibrating with need. The rhythm shifted, urgency overtaking restraint. Their movements became a storm, fierce, unrelenting, a primal clash of flesh and desire. Moans tore from their throats, raw and unbridled, echoing in the dim room like battle cries. Ayanna rose above him, her silhouette fierce against the flickering lamplight, a goddess of war incarnate. Her hair cascaded like a dark river, wild and untamed, as she moved with a power that was both magnificent and terrifying. Each roll of her hips was a conquest, claiming him with a ferocity that matched the fire in her eyes. Mac's hands gripped her thighs, his calloused fingers anchoring her to him as he surrendered to her dominion, their bodies locked in a desperate bid to defy mortality through the sheer force of their passion. Afterward, she lay against his chest, her fingers tracing patterns on his skin. What happens tomorrow? She asked. Mac held her tighter. We leave. Tonight. I know places in Mexico. No. Her voice was firm. I will not run. I will not make you an outlaw for my sake. It's my choice. She raised her head to look at him. As this was mine. They were still arguing when the riders came. Mac reached for his gun, but the cabin was already surrounded. Through the window he could see torches, painted faces. Apache warriors. They followed Clayton's trail, Ayanna whispered, understanding immediately. The voice that called out was strong, commanding. Ayanna's face went white. My brother, she said. Nalnish's brother? He has come for me. Mac counted 6 men outside. Good odds for dying. Impossible for living? What does he want? Ayanna closed her eyes. Justice. According to our law, I have dishonored my husband's memory. The penalty is death. Mac checked his rifle. Like hell. The Apache war chief called again, his words carrying clearly in the desert air. Ayanna translated, her voice hollow. He says I have 30 seconds to come out, or they burn the cabin. Mac moved to the window. The warriors sat their horses like statues, weapons ready. Professional. Deadly. There's another choice, Mac said quietly. What? He turned to her, his face grim. I go out there. Keep them busy long enough for you to get to my horse. You ride hard for Mexico. Mac? No. Ayanna grabbed his arm. 6 warriors? You will die. Maybe, but you'll live without honor. As an exile. Alive. His voice was fierce. That's what matters. Ayanna looked at him for a long moment, seeing the man he truly was beneath the badge and the guilt. A man who had spent so much time dealing death that saving one life had become his redemption. I love you, she said simply. The words hit Mac harder than bullets. Mary had said those words once, a lifetime ago. He thought he'd never hear them again. I love you too. He kissed her, soft and quick. Now go. Mac opened the door and stepped into the firelight, rifle ready. The Apache chief sat his horse 10 yards away, painted for war. I am Marcus Sullivan, Mac called out, Sheriff of Silver Creek. The woman is under my protection. The chief's laugh was harsh. Your protection means nothing. White man. She has shamed our people. She must answer. Then you answer to me first. What followed was brief and violent. Mac was a good shot, a veteran of a dozen fights, but 6 Apache warriors were too many for any one man. He took 2 of them down before a lance found his chest, a third before the bullets found him. As he fell, his last sight was Ayanna, not fleeing as he'd hoped, but running toward him. She cradled his head as his blood soaked the desert sand. Foolish white man, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. Mac smiled, tasting copper. Worth it. The Apache chief dismounted, approaching slowly. He looked down at his sister, at the dying sheriff who had chosen love over law. He fought with honor, the chief said finally. His spirit will find peace. Ayanna nodded, understanding. In her brother's words was forgiveness and choice. She could return to her people, submit to judgment, die with honor, or she could take the path Mac had died to give her. Freedom, life, an uncertain future, but her own. As the sun rose over the desert, Ayanna knelt beside Mac's grave, placing his sheriff's badge on the rough wooden cross. The Apache warriors had already departed, carrying their own dead. She was alone now, as she had chosen to be. Behind her, Mac's horse waited, saddled and ready. Mexico was 3 days south, a new life, if she was brave enough to claim it. Ayanna stood, brushing the sand from her dress. Mac Sullivan had given her something no one else ever had: the right to choose her own path. She mounted the horse and rode south, toward the rising sun, carrying his memory like a sacred fire in her heart. What did you think of Mac's final choice? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories from the untamed West. Until next time, keep riding toward your own horizon,